Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode. I'm absolutely thrilled today to have with me Emily Edwards. Emily, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so great to be here.
Emily, could you start by telling us what was your role in Mayor of the Night?
So my role is Mary Watson, and then I also play a ghost. And so you get to delve into a relationship between John Watson and Mary, and then also Sherlock and Mary, and see how that all works together. And it's a cool relationship to see unfold.
One of the reasons I was so thrilled to have the opportunity to visit with you is the relationship between John and Mary has been one that has always fascinated me because John clearly loves his wife. And many took him away from Sherlock to live an entirely different life. Obviously, he reincorporated or re-up back with Sherlock, but that relationship with Mary and John seemed to me to be very special.
hmm Definitely is. They definitely have a strong bond. And it's interesting because reading about it in the original books, their love story is succinct. There's not a lot to it. They just meet and go on a few adventures together, but there's not much mentioned about their relationship. And so getting to fill that in a little bit has been a cool adaptation, I guess.
But it's more than just when they meet and fall in love, because I also saw Mary's role as a wife, where
Mhm.
she was in many ways, if not the narrator of John's mind, certainly his conscience, perhaps. Did you see that as well?
To an extent, I think in this particular the way that we're doing it, the way that you see her is more from Sherlock's point of mind, like stuck in the back of his head kind of situation.
Let's go back to where did you grow up
I grew up in Lubbock, Texas.
and what brought you to Kerrville?
My husband got a job here and we moved.
When did you all move here?
Oh, that's been like 6 or 7 years ago?
And when did you take up the acting bug?
I have been acting since I was oh man, I was little. And I ended up actually going to college for it, and I have a BFA in theater, but this is my first kind of foray into film.
What university did you go to?
I went to Texas State.
And have you done work on the stage then?
Yes. Lot.
What are some of your favorite roles on the stage?
Probably in recent years, my favorite was Miss Honey and Matilda. That was a fun one.
Yeah. So tell us about how you got connected with CJ and his production of Mayor of the Night.
So I was an extra when he did Eyes of a Roman. And we connected then a little bit, and then he came and actually saw me in Matilda, speaking of, and was like, "Yep." And after the show, came and asked me if I wanted to be a part of his film, and I didn't know exactly what it was gonna be or didn't have a script in hand or anything. I was like, "Yeah, you got it. I'm in."
So tell us about what it was like from your perspective as an actor on the film.
It's having come from a theater background, it's surprisingly different. I think one of the main things for me personally was you get used to having an audience and getting that feedback and be like, "Okay, I did good there, they laughed," or whatever. Whereas with film, you're totally you depending on the director and be like, "Okay, he sees it, we got it." And so there's that different element of trust, and then also you're used to making things really big, you want, like, the people in the back of the audience to be able to see you, and then films, you're bringing everything back in and trying to hone in those skills while also trying to make sure that I'm delivering on the story and doing that kind of thing.
As an actress on the stage, do you actually sort of incorporate that audience feedback, that audience emotion, or something else into your performance? And I say that because the first time I went to the New Globe Theatre in London to see a Shakespeare play in the Globe, it was clear that the actors were incorporating feedback from the groundlings
Mhm.
and almost immediately. Is that something you do on the stage as well?
Yes, it's an interesting situation where, like, you almost get fed. I think you can, like, you can feel the energy, and that kind of pushes you forward, and so you're like, "Okay, they're finding these kind of things funny, then here we go." Or depending on what kind of character you're playing, if it's more dramatic, then be like, "Okay, try to pull it out."
How do you get that feedback in a movie
I think there's a with because in theater you have this lengthy rehearsal process. With this, it's all practicing at home, and so I think there's a lot more self-reliance in a way. You have to trust yourself to be that you're making good decisions. And then also, thankfully, with the group that we had on this film, some amazing people, and everyone was very supportive. And we would talk to each other and be like, "Hey, so what do you think about this idea? How do you think? How do you think about delivering this line?" And so we would rely on each other as well, and it's just to practice and relying on each other and trusting. And
Another observation I had from stage actors was that they really did bounce new ideas off each other. It's very collaborative. Even if one person's name was on the script, it really was everyone's script. Is that what you were describing from your movie work as well?
yeah, I mean, There's it's different in that I never had I didn't have a full copy of the full script. I had certain pieces of it, but it was all very collaborative. Like, whenever we were filming together, be like, "Hey, what about this idea?" We were definitely free to make suggestions or ask questions or clarification on things. So it was very collaborative.
Uh, the one of the other differences is on the stage, 7:30 on Wednesday night, you got to turn it on, or whenever it may be. How do you sort of turn it on for shooting of a movie when you may not know when you're going to get the call to go out there and do it?
I think what worked for me was music. So I made a playlist, and depending on which scene I was doing, I would cue up a song that kind of matched the feel of that scene, and then I'd be like, "Okay, got it going. Right, here we go." And that's what works for me. Other people have different methods.
You mentioned the relationship between husband and wife, John and Mary,
Mhm,
but you also mentioned the relationship between Mary and Sherlock,
mhm.
which I'm in the middle of an exploration of every Sherlock Holmes story and book.
Oh, that's
So
awesome.
there's not a lot of detail about that relationship. How did you develop that relationship, at least so that you could present it on screen?
I mean, first up, you look at the script and look at the clues that are there. But I ended up having a conversation with Les at one point. Just kind of be like, "So how do you see this playing out?" And we discussed it together, and then came to a agreement on, okay, this is how the relationship is, and it's a little strange. They don't get along as well, but that's how we did it. Just discussing with each other and feeling it out.
From the books, I almost sense that Sherlock, I don't want to say was jealous. Maybe
Mhm.
it's his jealousy, but he was certainly irritated that Mary took John away.
Yeah.
Do you find that to be
Oh,
accurate?
yeah, yeah, for sure. They went from having this amazing partnership and being the best of friends, and then here she comes and gets in the middle of it. And yeah, definitely.
So, what were some of the top highlights for you in working on this film?
Oh man, that's hard to pick because there's lots of cool things. Honestly, I would say having the freedom to be new at something and ask questions, and that's meaningful. Like, you don't, especially in this area, we don't get as many opportunities to do films like this. And so having the chance to actually meet with these people who enjoy the same things that I do and ask questions and learn from each other, that's a highlight to me. But as far as the film goes, things that you get to see, and I'm trying to think of something that I can tell you that won't give away spoilers. There's going to be some really cool visuals. I'll just put it that way.
So, we're detailing the, I don't want to say history, but the going through the movie, and we've had the chance to visit with the director, with the person who put the set together, and you're our first actor.
Wow.
We're going to try to talk to as many people as we can to get a really a true sense of how you guys put this picture together. Do you know if there's a premiere date?
They I kn There's multiple locations that they're hoping to do it in. I know there's going to be one at the Caloo on February the 23rd, but there's supposed to be one before that in San Antonio, but I don't have the details on that yet.
Okay, we'll certainly put those in the show notes when they become available to us. Emily, unfortunately, we are near the end of our time for this episode, but I wanted to thank you for taking the time to
Oh,
visit with
thank
us.
you very much. This has been a joy. Thank you.
Great.